Hey, thank you so much for commenting, and your concern about my religious beliefs and, um, just about the connection to science and Satanism. I actually really didn't know this, and I appreciate looking it up and, reading about it, and I find it interesting that it's actually mentioned in the Satanic Bible. But I'm not a Satanist, I'm actually a Christian. And it's not anybody else's business or concern about how that relationship looks, except between me and God. I also believe science is great and that it's just made of theories, and theories aren't technically 100% true. But due to the evidence that has been found and supported a lot of research, like we've been able to change a lot of things in a lot of people's lives. I actually used to be a missionary and I lived in Africa for about 2 years. And I spent the night at a refugee camp in northern Uganda for South Sudanese refugees. A fellow Christian actually told me about the story called End of the Spear. And it's a true story about missionaries who went to Ecuador to an unreached group and got killed. And later on, due to spiritual visions that they received, they ended up accepting Christ. Like I said, it's called End of the Spear. You should look it up. It's a true story. And you're not the only one who's giving me a hard time about wanting to be a scientist or be more into like looking up and researching about our human origins. There was a friend that I had in a church group that I used to go to, and I told her about my interest in anthropology, and she frowned upon it. And she said that it wasn't something that would glorify God. But upon my further research at the End of the Spear, there were anthropologists that did studies that helped these missionaries reach these unreached people groups. If it wasn't for the anthropologists doing the research, they wouldn't have had any idea of how to reach them at all. And this is the type of stuff I'm not gonna get angry, but I am gonna get passionate. God does not live in a box. Science does not answer every single question, but neither does it say that it does answer every single question. And science actually points to a lot of truths that are actually in the Bible already. But this is also where I find a problem between religion and science. They tend to stand on two different sides, but don't really meet in the middle. And this is where I want to step in. The more I've studied about our evolution, the human body, our cultures, historical context in the Bible makes more sense to me. I'm not aware of how much you've read your Bible, but Genesis has a lot of interesting things to say about our origins. If you read chapter 4 about the line of Cain, which I feel like a lot of people are familiar with the story of Cain unaliving Abel. And as you go further down the line of Cain, you get to someone named Jabal, who was apparently the father of nomadic herdsmen. And if you have studied anything about the human past, what groups of people existed before the start of agriculture? Nomads.